Swarmkeeper and the Arcane Archer are two of my favourite classes in the patch 8 Baldur's Gate 3, so we're going to multi-class them together, being the best archer we can possibly be. So let's jump over it, we're going to go level by level, comment tutorial and all the items you could ever need, and we start with the Ranger. Now the Ranger will give us strength saving throw proficiencies, dexterity saving throw proficiencies, simple and martial weapon proficiency, light armour, medium armour, which is what we will be using, and shield proficiencies. We get to pick a favoured enemy, and for me, I like the Bounty Hunter first. Proficiency in Investigation is always nice, and creatures you hit with Ensnaring Strike, either ranged or melee, have disadvantage on their saving throw. This is really helpful early game. When it comes to a Natural Explorer, I would start with Wasteland Wanderer Fire. Whenever it comes to any Ranger, I always just take the Wasteland Wanderers to get those resistances. And then when it comes to your ability points, we're going to take 8 Strength, 16 Dexterity, as this is what we'll be using for all of our weapons, 14 Constitution, 10 Intelligence, 16 Wisdom for our spells, and 10 Charisma. For your proficiencies, take whatever you feel like. Ranger level 2 brings our first level spell slots. So for the first two, we're going to take Hunter's Mark, a nice bonus action spell we can use to apply more damage as long as we remain concentrating. And we'll take Ensnaring Strike, so this ties into our level 1 passive. When it comes to fighting style, let's take Archery, so we're getting a +2 bonus to our ranged weapon attacks. Ranger level 3 brings our specialization. We gain one more spell as well, so let's take Hail of Thorns. And then for your specialization, obviously we are taking the Swarmkeeper. This will give you Praise Scent. So your Swarm deals additional damage to creatures marked by your Hunter's Mark. Hence these work so well in conjunction. We get Mage Hand as a cantrip and Fairy Fire as a spell. This is incredible. It will turn enemies visible if they're invisible, and any lit up enemies, any attacks on them will be with advantage. We also gain a Swarm. Now I personally like taking the Jellyfish, as they can deal lightning damage I should say, and shock the enemy. Ranger level 4 brings your next feat, or your first feat I should say. And for this one, you can probably guess, but we are going to take our dex up to 18. Ranger level 5 brings us our extra attack, so if we make an attack with our main action, we can follow up with an extra one. We also gain Web as a spell, and this can be very helpful as well for just slowing enemies down. We gain one more spell, but we are going to take Spike Growth, as I just think this is a better spell than Web. Basically, make the ground into hard spikes. Any enemies that walk over it will take piercing damage for every 1.5 meters they move, and it's 2 to 8 piercing damage. It also halves their movement speed and lasts for 100 turns. It's just incredible. Place this down and then you can just fire off your arrows at people. Ranger level 6 gives us more passives. So for this one, I would personally take Keeper of the Veil to get proficiency in Arcana and protection from good and evil, that being the main one. If you really wanted to, you could take the Ranger Knight and use heavy armor. You could take Sanctified Stalker and gain Sacred Flame. I just like Keeper of the Veil. And then for your Natural Explorer, I would personally take Cold. Ranger level 7 unlocks Withering Current. This is the resource used to cast Withering Tide. Withering Tide essentially just allows you to sort of hover 3 meters away, protecting you from the surface thanks to your jellyfish or moths or bees. We gain one more spell, so for this one I would take Long Strider. And at level 8 we unlock Lance Stride Difficult Terrain, so difficult terrain will no longer slow you down. We also gain one more feat, so for this one you've probably guessed it, but Dex all the way to 20. And then at level 9 is where we multi-class into the Fighter. Now the Fighter will give you Second Wind, so as a bonus action we can actually heal ourselves up for 1 to 10 hit points. We gain to pick another fighting style, and I do like taking Defense to gain that +1 bonus to Armor class while wearing armor. Fighter level 2 unlocks Action Surge, and this is great to use in the opening round of a boss fight, or if you know you've got a big fight coming up and then you can rest. Really, really awesome to just pump out more attacks. Fighter level 3 is where we get our specialization, and this is the Arcane Archer. So we gain proficiency in Arcana. We gain proficiency in Nature. We gain Arcane Arrow, so the resource used to cast the Arcane Shot, as well as a bunch more stuff. Now we gain one more cantrip, so we're going to take Light, as this is a really good utility spell. And then for our Arcane Shots, we get to pick 3. The first one we're going to take is Piercing Shot. This will essentially go through all enemies in a straight line. They must succeed a saving throw, or they'll be dealt an additional 1 to 6 piercing damage, and this is incredible. I love this one. We're going to pair this with the Seeking Arrow. So this will do an additional 1 to 6 force damage and possibly apply Fairy Fire, and it always hits its target. It's amazing. And then the final one we are going to take is the Bursting Shot. This is an arrow that will explode on impact and deal an additional 2 to 12 force damage to targets within a 3 meter radius, and if it misses, it will not consume an arcane arrow. And then our final level, Fighter level 4, we get a new feat. Now for this one, we're going to come all the way to the bottom and we're going to take Sharpshooter. Sharpshooter is awesome, it's basically the great weapon master of bows. Essentially, our ranged weapon attacks will not receive penalties from high ground rules, and we can take a -5 penalty to our attack roll for a solid additional 10 damage, and this is great. Okay, let's go over our items, and we're going to start with Sarok's Horned Helmet. This will give you dark vision, up to 3 meters or 15 if you already have it. Cannot be frightened or afflicted with emotion altering conditions. Constitution saving throws +1, but most importantly, reduces our need for a critical by 1. So now we currently need a 19 to get a critical hit. We're going to pair this with a Cloak of Displacement, so this will activate at the beginning of our turn, giving enemies disadvantage on us until we are hit. We're going to take the Space Hunt boost for use of Dimension Door. This is really helpful, and it's a nice level 4 spell. The Armour of Agility, so saving throws +2, but most importantly, we get exotic materials, meaning we get to add our full dexterity modifier to our armour class. And because we're at 20, that's a +5, 17 to 22, and then the +1 to make it 23, thanks to our class features. Now for gloves, there's 2 options. I've gone with the Legacy of Masters for a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls. If you wanted to, you could also take the Helldust gloves to give you a 1 to 6 on your fire damage. Choice is really yours. These are really good for also leaving on like fighters and stuff, so pick and choose whichever one you prefer. We're going to take the Shifting Corpus Ring for invisibility and blur. The Caustic Bands, we deal an additional 2 acid damage. I think that just fits the theme of the Swarmkeeper perfectly. The Strange Tendril Amulet for Edvard's Black Tentacles. I love this spell, one of my top 10 in the entire game. So we're taking this. We want some melee capabilities, so we're going to be using Kerwin's Cauterizer. It's a nice little scimitar finesse that uses our dex. Also deals fire damage, and we can possibly cause burning to enemies that don't succeed their Constitution saving throw. And then when it comes to the bow, we are going to be using the Deadshot. Once again, we get to double our proficiency bonus when rolling ranged attacks with this weapon. But, again importantly, improved critical, the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1, bringing it from a 20 to a 19 and now to an 18, which is just phenomenal. So that is the build, let's go check it out. Okay, you can see we're in the combat and we're quite near the top of the turn order, which is fine. Okay, and it's now our turn, so let's start with our Hunter's Mark and let's place it on good old Skeeve here. There we go, so now we're concentrating on that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start firing off some shots. Now, if we come into our arcane shots, you'll see we have a piercing arrow. However, the range isn't the best, so it's best to wait until you've got a few enemies like sort of clumped together for this. What we can do instead, and you'll see we have 4 uses, is we are going to come in here and we'll do a bursting shot. Now this is going to do some friendly fire, so bear that in mind. But we can also use our jellyfish to attack. So the first one, just a basic attack, will do 1 to 6 lightning damage, or you can do shock, which will possibly shock the target. Just like that, as you can see, they are now shocked. We hit both enemies here, and what's good about this is your arcane shots actually count as part of your normal attack. So if we wanted to, we could once again do another bursting arrow, pop it on here, and there you go, killed one off, and there's still that enemy there. Because we've got action surge, we can boost this quick, we can fire an arrow to the enemy here, and then we can follow up with another one to the barbarian down here. And you see big miss on us, and then another big miss thanks to our cloak. But of course, there's still other things we can do. So with our bonus action, let's move our Hunter's Mark. We can reapply it, and let's put it on this enemy here. Now, let's say we haven't really got proper line of sight. We can come into here, we can trigger our Seeking Arrow, and we can hit this target here. And as you can see, we did some pretty decent damage. The other thing we can do is we can just take another pop shot, as you know, because we have our bonus action, also with our extra attack. And there you go, and thanks to this, and we've got our Hunter's Mark, we can do a regular attack. And you'll see we did extra because of the Hunter's Mark and our class features with the Swarmkeeper. But of course, that's not the only thing we have, so let's just finish off this enemy here. There we go. We can teleport if we want to. We're not going to though. What we are going to do is we're going to once again use our bonus action. When I can find it, here we go. We're going to reapply our Hunter's Mark to the Barbarian here. And let's say we've got the big crowd of enemies here still. We are going to do some friendly fire, so bear that in mind. But we can do an awesome piercing shot. And obviously the Barbarian's going to take less because they're raging, so bear that in mind when seeing the damage output. Now the other thing to know is, because we have our melee capabilities, we can come in here. We could take a swing. You'll see we're doing extra fire damage as well. We've caused burning. We can do our jellyfish attack on this as well. So there you go. And then we can follow this back up. We land a big crit. And the burning should eventually kill them off. If not, we can once again come in here. We've got our Hunter's Mark. If we need to, we can second win. We can Withering Tide. And let's just say we want to get out of danger. So we will teleport to here. Now unfortunately, we did take that, which I expected. But I'm trying to show you off the class capabilities. To here. And as you see, enemy burnt up there to a crisp, and that's what's really good about having Cohen's Cauterizer. You see another big miss. And then very simply we can reapply our Hunter's Mark. Put it onto this enemy now that we can see. And we can just throw out some very standard attacks. We'll do a regular attack, we'll get the extra jellyfish damage, and make sure when doing these attacks you have Sharpshooter on. You'll see it will say active. Sharpshooter is what's going to give you another solid 10 damage when doing these strikes. And again, very simply, time to start finishing the fight off. So we're going to take a shot at this enemy here. There you go. And then, if we can see them, we're going to try and apply our Hunter's Mark to the enemy here. Now let's say we can't see them. Obviously, as you can see, our range is a little weird. We've just about got a shot, but let's say this was a little bit more covered. We can, of course, use our arcane shots, if need be, if we still have them, to just do a Seeking Arrow, something like that. Luckily, we have a pretty good shot from here, and of course we can use our Jellyfish to shock, which worked, and if we check out Shocked by going to Examine, you will see has disadvantage on ability checks and saving throws using dexterity and cannot take reactions. So this is really good. You can get your jellyfish to shock an enemy, especially if you're within melee, and then you can Withering Tide away if you need to. But at this point, it really is just as simple as just finishing the fight, using your jellyfish to deal extra damage, and taking your shots when you need to. Now bear in mind, if we come into here, you will see we used one spell slot, and all our arcane shots, and one of our Withering Tides. If we short rest, you get your arcane shots back, but that is it. So feel free to use them as much as you need to in a combat if you know you're going to short rest, but just be wary of your spell slots and that sort of stuff. That's why I really just like focusing on Hunter's Mark, and also if you need to throw out like Spike Growth you can, that sort of thing. I really hope you've enjoyed this Arcane Archer Swarmkeeper. It's one of my favourite multi-classes to play as. If you have, let me know in the comments below and let me know your change, any new items, abilities, all that fun stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more. I've got more guides to Baldur's Gate, to Path of Exile, to Dragon Age, to Oblivion Remastered, all the amazing RPGs you could ever need. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.